In any other context, the loss of Kylian Mbappé would signal the start of a rebuild, not a resurgence. After all, losing the best goal scorer on the planet can't make you better, right? But that's not what's happened at PSG. Instead, Luis Enrique's PSG club has gotten better. Not just in terms of results, but in the way they play, the way they press, the way they distribute goals across the squad. This 24-25 PSG side is more balanced, more coherent, and frankly, more fun to watch. It's one of the rare cases where subtraction really did lead to addition. But why did it happen? How did they get better while losing the best player in the world? We're going to break that down next here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub. Now, this is not going to be a Kylian Mbappé bashing piece. We know who he is, we know what he does, we know what he doesn't do. Kylian Mbappé is an amazing player, arguably the best player in the world, certainly on the short list for that discussion anytime it happens. He's one of the best goal scorers in the world. He's doing great at Real Madrid after a short adjustment period. I'm not knocking him in any way, shape, or form. But the key takeaway here is that even the best, biggest, most talented stars on the planet aren't necessarily a good fit with every single coach. And Kylian Mbappé and Luis Enrique were a terrible fit. They just didn't go together. The way he plays is not the way the other wants to play, and vice versa. And so the sum of the parts at PSG is now better than it was when they had the best player in the world who did not want to do the things that his manager wanted to do. So we're going to break all that down next and why they're having so much success without Kylian Mbappé, how they're achieving it. But before we get into all that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me down below so you can follow the channel. Get down in the comment section, let me know your thoughts, where this factors in, how much of it is Mbappé, how much of it is the extra additions they have made, because that's a factor as well. Get in the comments, let me know what you think. You can also leave comments on Twitter and Blue Sky at Pitchside Pub, and check out the website, pitchsidepub.com. So it's not like Mbappe's departure was some sort of secret. It was widely known. He'd been flirting with Real Madrid for years, and last summer he finally makes the jump, and everyone last year knew it was coming, and that had to be a factor into why Mbappé didn't want to do some of the things Luis Enrique wanted him to do, because he knew he was going to have, a one foot out the door anyway, and he was being asked to do some things that he hadn't really done a lot of, mainly defensive work and pressure. And so, it really was a bad fit towards the end there, because Enrique's trying to build something long-term, and Kylian Mbappé knew he wasn't going to be a part of it. For years, PSG had been basically a collection of stars. Mbappé, Lionel Messi, Neymar, all leading the line, essentially an all-star team that never really worked. And it didn't work because of that collection of stars, but not because of Mbappé himself, who had had a lot of success. He scored 44 goals in the 22-23 season, then 41 goals in 23-24. I mean, he was a cheat code, but having a cheat code like that comes at a cost. With a player like Mbappé, everything funnels towards him. The attack orbits around him, often at the expense of positional discipline and team-wide pressing responsibilities. When you have a player who's capable of creating scoring opportunities out of absolutely nothing, it becomes sort of tempting to just sit around and wait for that nothing to happen. And, with Mbappé, more often than not, it did. He delivered routinely on that promise, but it led to a lack of intensity from his teammates, and that just does not jive with what Luis Enrique is trying to do. With Mbappé on the pitch, the rest of the team had a tendency to become reactive rather than proactive. The pressing dropped off, the midfield played it safe, the build-up slowed down, and Mbappe's gravity was immense, but in some ways it pulled everything inward towards him. With Mbappé leaving, PSG had a choice. Did they want to go after more stars like Mbappé, Neymar, and Messi, and we know they had the money to do that, or did they want to actually execute Luis Enrique's vision, which was to build a true team to play his style of football? Enrique also went on the record to say that the club would be better once Mbappé left, which was a quote and a soundbite that really got him laughed at, but he has turned out to be right, and he's doubling down on that this season. He actually went on the record again and said, "I was very brave last season when I told you we'd have a better team in attack and defense. I still think we're better in attack and defense, and the figures there say it." I told you I'd rather not have a player who scores 40 goals, I wanted players who all score a lot. That quote may sound like posturing, but the data backs it up. PSG has become one of the most intensely pressing teams this season, flipping the script on their previous style. In Ligue 1, 85.1% of their pressures have occurred within 2 meters of the ball, a league high metric that shows how aggressively they're closing in on space. Even more impressively, 56.8% of the opposition's touches have been under pressure, again the highest in France. And they're not just running for the sake of it either. In the Champions League, they've recovered the ball 112 times in the final third, 5th most in the competition. And the eye test matches the stat sheet. This is a team that swarms. They have a coordinated pressing attack, which is a far cry from the sit back and wait PSG teams of old that had star players who had no intensity on the pressing side whatsoever. Possession has always been part of Enrique's philosophy, but now it comes with some teeth. PSG currently averages 67.5% possession in all competitions this season, second only to Bayern Munich in Europe's top 5 leagues. But it's not sterile sideways possession. It's incisive, it's calculated, it's backed by purpose-built movement. PSG has completed more than 6,800 passes already this season, nearly 2,000 more than Lille and Rennes. Portuguese midfielder Vitinha alone has completed 278 line-breaking passes in league play, helping bridge the space between the back line and the front three. Rather than playing through one man as they often did when they had Mbappé and Messi before him, they now use the entire width and the entire depth of the pitch to play as a cohesive unit moving forward. But the biggest statistical change may be coming from their goal distribution. Enrique said he doesn't want one guy scoring 40 goals, he wants a bunch of guys scoring a bunch of goals. He'd rather have 10 guys scoring 10 to 15 goals than all of the goal contributions coming from one player, and that's exactly what he's achieved this year. Ousmane Dembélé, who's often maligned from his Barcelona days for being inconsistent, is having the season of his life. 32 goals in 40 appearances across all competitions, including 21 in Ligue 1. Then there's Ivica Kvaratskhelia, who joined the team in January from Napoli and looks like an absolute steal. He has hit the ground running, become a dynamic player on the wing, scored a huge goal for PSG in the Champions League quarterfinal against Aston Villa, and is becoming a star in his own right, but one that's willing to work hard on the press and play within the cohesive team unit. And then of course there's 18-year-old Désiré Doué, who has emerged as a star in the making. He converted the winning penalty against Liverpool in the round of 16 and scored the title-clinching goal in Ligue 1. So now the scoring opportunities are coming from all over the pitch, and not only are they more balanced, but they're younger and hungrier to prove themselves. So it's clear there's been an evolution at PSG, and some of it is personnel-based, but a lot of it has to do with executing Enrique's vision and his ability to do it properly with the players he now has. In 23-24, PSG averaged an astronomical 70.3% possession and 90.9% pass accuracy in league play, both the highest recorded during the Opta era. But that style of play didn't always translate into dominance. They were methodical, often predictable, and they didn't have the high press that led to those transition opportunities. Now this year they've actually given up some of that possession dominance, but they're pressing with more bite, and it's giving them more attacking opportunities in that final third. Rather than waiting for a star player to pull something out of his hat and create a magical goal, they're playing as a more cohesive unit of 11 and creating those opportunities themselves. Let's be clear, Kylian Mbappé was and remains one of the best players in the world, regardless of how his time ended at PSG. If we hadn't known he was leaving, if he hadn't known he was leaving, would he have bought into what Luis Enrique was trying to get him to do defensively and as a leader a little bit more? Possibly, but we'll never know. At the end of the day, he didn't want to do the defensive work that Luis Enrique demands out of his club, and so he was happy to let him go. Not that he had any say over it anyway, because Kylian Mbappé always wanted to go to Real Madrid, but Luis Enrique would rather have the club he has now, and it is showing why. He has a cohesive unit full of young, hungry players, ready to press, ready to attack, and they are making a deep Champions League run, certainly with as much success as anything Kylian Mbappé was able to achieve in that tournament during his time in Paris. So what do you think? How much of this has to do with Enrique's style? How much of it has to do with Mbappe's departure? The new players that came in? It's a little bit of a combination of all three, but I'd love to get your thoughts. Get down in the comments section. Let me know what you think. You can also leave comments on Twitter and Blue Sky at PitchsidePub. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button for me down down below so you can follow the channel and check out the website pitchsidepub.com. Thanks as always for joining us here on Pints and Punditry at the Pitchside Pub.